Memorial Day weekend is a time for reflection and remembrance. It's a time to honor those who paid the ultimate price to defend our freedoms, so that we, as a nation, may always enjoy them. This year, we were finally free of COVID-19 to express our gratitude publicly, to roar our approval as drivers delivered moments in history.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome the chairman of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Roger Penske.
Thank you, fans. All you loyal fans that are attending the 105th running of the Indianapolis 500, thank you for being so loyal. I also want to thank the men and women in the military, our first responders, our health cares that have made our country safe and secure the last year. You are the ones that make this the greatest spectacle in racing. Drivers, start your engines!
The soul is back at the Speedway. The fans are back in the stands. This is, and always will be, the greatest spectacle in racing as they see the front straight for the very first time as they come to green. This is the Indianapolis 500 for everybody to see.
Field addresses itself to the starting line, and the Coca-Cola 600 is underway.
After a year of isolation, we are back.
You're entering the wind tunnel with Jack Root. No spin, no bull, all Jack. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.
Here is your host, Jack Root.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Wind Tunnel episode. Well, Memorial Day is behind us now, and man, we're retreated to some incredible racing. Kudos go out to Coca-Cola 600 winner Kyle Larson, who notched his very first 600 victory, and, of course, to this year's Indy 500 champion, Helio Castroneves, who not only captured the 105th running of the Indy 500, but by doing so, entered the most exclusive group in all of racing, four-time winners of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. Now, we're going to have more on those races, as well as a quick trip around last week's NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series events. But first, I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on this year's Memorial Day and compare it to last year's Day of Remembrance. Remember, back then, our country was grappling with an enemy that impacted all of our lives. The dangers of COVID-19 had all but erased our annual kickoff and get-together to summer. And instead, we woke that Memorial Day weekend 1 year ago with alarming reports of increased spread of the virus and an ever-increasing death toll. There is no question that fear influenced last year's Memorial Day, and instead of celebration, we were forced to hunker down in quarantine. But thanks to American perseverance, we eventually are leading the world into deliverance. We've not completely defeated this COVID enemy, but we're getting awfully close. And bearing testament to that fact was seeing fans once again back in the grandstands at their favorite track, be it Indianapolis, Charlotte, Greenville Pickens, South Boston, or any of the weekly shows. We cheered and we celebrated. And boy, our heroes certainly did respond. We saw tight racing, historic wins. Yeah, this Memorial Day weekend was very, very different from last year. Gone was fear, and it was replaced by cheers of a nation. I've got a pretty neat guest list this week. One of MRN Radio's marquee voices, Dave Moody, visits, and we're going to trace his career as well as look at the current state of NASCAR and its future. In our Advanced Victory Lap segment, you'll meet a 15-year-old driver that is already a champion. I'll visit with the 2020 Greenville Pickens track titleist, Cameron Bolin. And we're also going to talk to an IndyCar driver that is simply known as Captain America. Ryan Hunter-Reay, the driver of Andretti Autosport's DHL Honda number 28, is with me, and he and I are going to reflect on his hard knocks rise to the very top of the IndyCar world. And of course, in story time, I'll share with you the saga of Darrell Waltrip, Jr. Johnson, and the Mountain Dew NASCAR Cup team, how the union came about, how they went from dysfunction to being champions, and along the way, share a little secret about a newspaper clipping and the effect it had upon the 1981 season. But before we go to break, let's get to our weekly Wind Tunnel Roundup, shall we? Across our country, racing is at full throttle.
White flag in the air, 1 to go. Kyle Payne out front.
White flag, one more time around at Talladega.
Second no more. Scott Dixon wins.
Winning may not be everything.
Out of Maryville, Tennessee, for the first time in his American All-Star Series career, it is Brandon Miller.
But to these drivers, it is the only thing.
And here he comes off the turn 4. Second win of the year. Give it to Harrison Burton.
Joseph Newgarden wins again.
Brad Keselowski wins Bristol.
As they go across the stripe, a photo finish.
Indeed, it is all that really counts. Time for Wind Tunnel's weekly update. It is time for news and notes. This past weekend, we saw an abundance of racing events anchored by NASCAR's 3-day celebration at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, to the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly NASCAR Series, all the way to the true crown jewel of the weekend, the 105th Indianapolis 500. Let's start with Charlotte and their annual tribute to America's military, known as Honor and Remember. Friday night, it was the Camping World Truck Series, and John Hunter Nemechek continued his #Here to Win Races season.
John Hunter Nemechek is going to hold off Carson Hocevar, and Nemechek wins for the 3rd time this season.
Thank you. Fast truck. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you. This is our baby right here.
9th career win for the 23-year-old from Mooresville, North Carolina. And as you said, Mike, winning at home. What a sweet feeling.
Hats off to all my guys, Eric Phillips, all of my guys that work on this thing, everyone at KBM, the chassis shop, Fab Shop, just everyone and all their effort, Mobile One, TRD, Toyota, Kyle for this opportunity. Just so thankful, so blessed to be in this spot.
Saturday afternoon, it was the Xfinity Series turn. And at the end of that race, it was a teenage part-time driver who backed up his first win on Daytona's road course with one at his home track.
Grind it out. That's what he's been able to do today, grinding it out, passing cars, putting himself in position, restarting when he needs to restart good, and he's putting himself in position to get through one more corner to bring that 54 into victory lane.
And Ty Gibbs, 18 years, 7 months, and 25 days, years old. He will become the youngest winner in any division, any of the 3 National Touring Series divisions, to win at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Great job by Ty.
I'll take it. This is a good day. We got one more to go, so I just want to say thank you to all the fans out there, and hell yeah.
Sunday night, the Cup Series brought the curtain down on NASCAR's weekend with the running of the Cup Series' longest race of the season, the Coca-Cola 600.
Kyle Larson trying for his first NASCAR win in a race longer than 400 miles. And he's going to pick NASCAR's longest night to do it. Kyle Larson wins the Coca-Cola 600. Rick Hendrick, career win 269. The irony of returning the number 5 to Hendrick Motorsports this year, the number with which All-Star Racing, owned by Rick Hendrick, scored their first victory at Martinsville with Jeff Bodine.
It was not easy. I felt like I had to fight off William and Chase a lot. it kind of worked out there that last run. The 43 had to pit and pulled out in front of me. I just towed with him for a while and stretched my lead out, and we had a good car there that last run. So awesome. Feels great to be the guy to help Mr. H break that record finally, and this is awesome. We haven't seen this many fans in forever. So just thanks to all you guys for coming out.
Meanwhile, as I said, the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series tracks put their best foot forward with an abundance of races. And to update us on those events, here is the host of At the Track on Performance Racing Network, Lenny Baticki.
Thanks a lot, Jack. This is your NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report. We'll start out in Iowa at Adams County. Brad Geary, the winner there. Tom Thomas got the checkers at Berlin Raceway in Michigan. New York's Bethel Motor Speedway to Skip LaPolt. With Wisconsin, 3 tracks running. Madison to Ty Majeski. Doug Koski got the win at Cedar Lake, and La Crosse to Devin Schmidt. Missouri at Central Missouri to Cody Frazen. Richard Smith, the winner at Colorado National. Washington's Evergreen Speedway to Parker Stevens. Ryan Millington won in North Carolina at Hickory. I-80 Speedway in Nebraska to Jesse Sobbing. R.J. Smotherman won at the Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Coos Bay, Oregon to Richard Wallace. Eric Reed won at Magic Valley in Twin Falls, Idaho. Loves Park, Illinois. Rockford Speedway's there, and that's where Dennis Smith got the victory. Chris Phillips won at Salina Highbanks in Kansas. At Seekonk Speedway in Massachusetts, it was Jerry DeGaspare Jr. in Victory Lane. And one of the best in the business, Peyton Sellers, continuing his winning ways at South Boston Speedway in Virginia. That's your NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report. They were chasing the checkers all over. Have a great week until we see you again.
But with all that racing unfolding over the past weekend, as I said, the crown jewel took place at the corner of 16th and Georgetown Road in Speedway, Indiana. It was the 105th rendition of the Indianapolis 500. And at the end, the eyes of the world welcomed a new driver into racing's most exclusive clubs.
Helio Castroneves has to weave his way through here under the ultimate pressure. Got to set this up. Pelot's got to just back it off here and set this up off of turn 2. This is where it's going to happen. Final lap out of turn 2 onto the backstretch for the final time. Can Castroneves weave his way around with the move that Ryan Hunter-Reay put on him many years ago? He sticks behind RHR. Now here Pelot. Pelot gets closer. There's a 4-time win on the line for Helio Castroneves. Look at the crowd. They know history's on the line. Welcome to the 4-time club, Helio Castroneves. That is awesome.
Helio's win came 20 years after his very first, and it saw Castroneves join A.J. Foyt, Al Unser Sr., and Rick Mears as the only drivers ever to score 4 victories in the greatest spectacle in racing.
I love Indianapolis. You guys don't understand. The fans, they give me energy. I'm serious. They don't understand. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. And from the beginning, we're so comfortable, happy. We're playing kind of like calm, but I tell you what, right now I'm just excited. I knew I was gonna get a fight. have to put the elbows out, but I tell you what, man, what an incredible feeling. But I couldn't do this without my family. You know, my mom and dad in Brazil, my sister. Love you guys. We did it. This is just absolutely awesome. Man, I only did 2 races this year, and I won 2. I think I still got it, don't you think? Well, let me tell you, it's not the end of it. It's the beginning, I tell you what. Look, I don't know if this is a good comparison or not, but Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. Phil Mixon won the Master, and now here you go. So the old guys still get it, still kicking the young guys' butt, you know. We're teaching them a lesson. I tell you what, this is absolutely incredible.
So, there you have it. A history-making Memorial Day weekend of racing. And we covered it all for you right here on Wind Tunnel.
Coming up next.
And it is Ryan Hunter-Reay that is going to lead Helio Castroneves across the line. Ryan Hunter-Reay has his first Indianapolis 500-mile race win.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, his 6th career win and 2nd win in Milwaukee.
Ryan Hunter-Reay wins the Iowa Corn Indy 250.
3 in a row for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Ryan Hunter-Reay needs to time this restart perfectly.
Join me in welcoming your new Captain America.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Well, he is already in his career hit for the cycle, so to speak, having won an IndyCar championship in 2012 and then backing it up in 2014 when he captured the Indianapolis 500. Along the way, whether it was the media or the fans, they gave my next guest the moniker Captain America. We're talking about Ryan Hunter-Reay, who joins us now. Ryan, do you have any idea where the title that everybody uses for you, Captain America, came from?
I'm not sure. I think it had something to do with hoisting that American flag up when we won the Indy 500 in 2014, and kind of just, I think, stating my appreciation for our country and my patriotism. But I think Lee Diffie might have started that. I'm not sure, but I think he did. One of the announcers, obviously, for NBC, great announcer, but I think he did come up with the Captain America.
When you look back on your career, what's the perspective that you had? And my next question will be, looking forward in your career, what are your goals and what is your perspective about the future?
Well, looking back in my career, I mean, obviously, I've been with DHL now for this is my 12th season with them. So one of the longest tenured partnerships in the series. Goes along with the likes of, the Target Ganassi cars, the 28 DHL Andretti car has been there a long time. But, the fact that, I came through the ranks, worked my way through all of it, obviously no family money or anything like that. And I made the most of some pretty small openings and, had to come in, make the most of them in a short amount of time. But I've been blessed to be with great people along the way, great teams. I've driven for the greats in the sport. I've driven for Michael Andretti, obviously, but AJ Foyt, Bobby Rahal, just to name a few. And it's been just a fantastic experience and a fantastic journey, which is not over. But looking to the future, I mean, the biggest one for me, obviously, is the Indy 500. Doesn't matter if next year or the year after that, becoming a 2-time, 3-time winner is the ultimate goal.
We finally have fans coming back to the stands. Without them, we are missing the connection that makes our sport so popular. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always knew that the fans bring the energy at Indy, but that was not, it could never be more apparent than it was last year when there was nobody there. And you realize that without the fans, without that energy, without that soul it's just a bunch of infrastructure there. It really is not Indy. It's not that energy without having the fans there. They bring the place to life. And, the last time we raced there in 2020, when the gates were closed, it felt like an open test basically. And, this year, it's been so much different with the fans there every day. And it was like, man, this is what we've been missing. So it was great to have them back.
You realize that your career now, you find yourself as I'm not going to say senior member, I'll say longest tenured member of Andretti Autosport. In the pecking order, does that make you the alpha dog?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I'm 40 years old. So yeah, you could say that. Go ahead. No problem. In IndyCar racing, I guess that is a senior statesman, but I have the most experience there and obviously been through the most. My teammates are incredibly fast. Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, James Hinchcliffe. We're all good friends, and we work really well together. So we all work off each other. We play off each other, and it's a great system in that way. But yeah, it's unique in IndyCar right now because you have guys with a lot of experience, guys that are right in their 40s, over 40, coming up to 40. And then you have these guys that are super young, some under 21 years old that are showing that they're going to be the future of the sport. So it's pretty cool to see that. And it's cool to see the battles going on throughout the season in that regard.
The late, great Satchel Paige once said, don't look back because they're gaining on you. To me, this season, it's an interesting juxtaposition because so far we've had the young guns breaking down the door to victory lane, but we've also had some of the veterans. And I wonder from your perspective, because you're a student of the game, can you recall any other time when there have been so many young drivers and enough of the senior statesmen is the term you just used?
Yeah.
I can't recall it in the history of IndyCar racing for quite some time.
No, this is a first that I've seen with this mix. And there are really no weak spots on the grid. I mean, it's thick throughout, it's stacked. That's the beautiful thing about IndyCar racing. It has been for quite some time, and it continues to be right now. Is you go into a race on Sunday, you're picking 14 potential winners. There's not one or two favorites. Yeah, there might be a guy that's qualified on pole and he had the pace all weekend, but when it comes to the race, it's a different story. It's wide open for everyone, and that's what's great about it from a driver's perspective as well. Every Sunday, every race day, you get up to go strap in and go take that green flag. You have a chance.
Ryan, a lot of us are very fascinated by your fellow teammate, this youngster that's a second generation driver, Colton Herta. It looks as if, well, I'll go back to qualifying when he told one of the pit announcers on NBC, qualifying day is the biggest and most enjoyable day that he has all season because you're on the edge and you're racing sketchy.
Yeah.
I sat there and I fell out of my chair when he said it, but that's his style. And then he gets out of the race car and he's so quiet.
I know. It's wild. It's wild. It's such a mix. It's such a mix that I haven't seen. I mean, he's just so monotone. He never gets up, never gets down. And then he's in the race car. He's an absolute madman. So it's pretty cool to see. Very bright future in him. Great kid, good family. Been friends with the Hertas for a while, but it's great to see, that he has a great situation. He's in a position now where he can really flourish. He has a great team behind him at such a young age to have all this experience around him and teammates, lots of teammates, at that time in my career, I was jumping from team to team, different environments, underfunded, this, that, and the other. And now he's got an opportunity to really take advantage of, and he's doing it.
Are you ever envious about the path that he's been able to take compared to the one you were forced to take?
No, I love my path. It made me the fighter that I am. I've got a never give up that's probably only matched by few, and it's a really deep down never give up. That it's kind of a relentless feeling that I have in me that nothing's ever good enough, and you're never safe in your job, and that's why it's probably why I've been doing this since 2003.
How much do you really love the profession that you've chosen?
Oh man, I can't. It's my way of life. It's everything. And it's given me so much back as well. I poured my heart and soul into it, but it's given it right back. So, and I want to continue to do that for the sport. So absolutely. I'm, feel like one of the luckiest people in the world that I get to do what I love. Got a beautiful family, and, it's been an awesome ride to this point, and there's still more to go. We still have more opportunities ahead, but I'm good with everything that's going on. I have more opportunities in the future here to win races, and that's what matters most.
Well, Captain America, we wish you nothing but the very best. Ryan, I've been graced with being able to watch you from the first day that you set in an IndyCar to where you're at today. And I think you're an inspiration for an awful lot of people that are maybe in the lower ranks dreaming about, well, the life that you're living. And I do appreciate your visiting with us today.
I appreciate that, Jack. Thank you, buddy.
Take care, my friend, and thank you so much for doing this.
Look forward to seeing you in person here soon, hopefully.
I hope so. Okay, take care.
All right, see you, bud.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with advanced same day and get your part with same day pickup in store, same day curbside, or same day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
I'm Kyle Rickey from MRN Radio, the voice of NASCAR. They are the foundation of American motorsports, the launching pad for racing's future. Time now for the Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, driving local racing and local communities forward.
There is a tradition at Greenville Pickens Speedway where each track champion has his name painted on the track's wall to commemorate that accomplishment. It's called the Ring of Champions, and there are names like David Pearson, Ralph Earnhardt, Butch Lindley that adorn that wall. But there's a brand new name out there. It's Cameron Bolin, who captured the track title last year at the age of 15. And he is here with me. Cameron, thank you for joining me here inside the wind tunnel. I got to tell you, that's some pretty heady company that you've joined in that Ring of Champions.
I'm still blown away, honestly. It's surreal because, you know, you see the wall and you see David Pearson, you see Ralph Earnhardt, you see everybody like that. And you don't think you can get there, and then you get on into the year. Hey, I got a shot at this deal, you know. But I told Dad walking out of there on championship night, I said, you know, it's a long shot with what we have, but we're gonna try it, and we're gonna try and make a run for it. And everything lined up, the stars aligned, and we came out on top.
And you got to paint your name on the wall with all those stars. When you go back now and you see your name there, what goes through your mind?
So what's crazy is I haven't been back yet.
No kidding. Really?
I ran the Cars Tour race, the $30,000 race. I made my Cars Tour debut, and I haven't made it back to a race yet. I've been racing Legends cars this year for a sponsor of mine. And so I went and actually picked up my late model today. So hopefully we're not far from getting back on track with it at Greenville. At this point, we've been lucky enough to win 9 races already this year in the Legends car. And we're making a national title run in it this year. So won't get to do as much late model racing, but at the same time, I'm being able to see different tracks where I'd only seen one at Greenville.
Driving a Legends car and then hopping in a late model. I mean, there's a huge horsepower difference. There's a huge tire and grip difference. You'd been out of them for a little while, so did you have to reacquaint yourself?
So it was weird. My path to the Legends car was different than everybody else's. I went straight to the late model. I wasn't going to fool with Legends. Got out of the Bandoleros, and everybody takes that step of Bandoleros to Legends to late models, whatever they want to do. I didn't. I went straight to the late model. Logistically, economically, that's what we had on our plate at that point. For, you know, a couple more dollars, we could go late model racing, and just got taken out. My second race and totaled the car. So took a step back in 2018, 2019, December of 18, actually got a phone call. It was Robbie Jones, my sponsor. He said, "Hey, got a Legends car sitting here, needs a driver in Florida." Well, race car driver at heart. I wanted to do it. So that's what I did. I jumped in it and drove it. And, I've been on a part-time schedule until this year ever since.
I want to talk for a moment because it's such a wonderful story about your crew and the support. As I understand it, your granddad was a pretty damn good race car driver, was he not?
He was. He only ran dirt, amazingly. So everything he's done past his racing career has been taught. So he's learned these asphalt cars, and like you said, gotten pretty damn good at it. But he had 30 years of dirt experience. He's my driver coach. He's my spotter. He's my crew chief, you know, and it helps. It helps having your best friend that you trust, you know, being your right-hand man. And my dad, he takes care of the behind-the-scenes stuff. He does all the books. He takes care of the finances, stuff like that. And he does tires, but it's fun to be this close-knit.
You rely on your papa. So what's the best advice that he has ever given you about your racing career?
Don't rush it. Sit back and enjoy the ride and, you know, use what you have. He has so many regrets from his career that he's getting able to live those out through me now. So in a way, you know, I'm driving for his dream that him starting later in life didn't maybe get to accomplish. But, you know, he's told me a bunch, you know, we ain't got the most money, kid, but we make do with what we got. And, you know, I don't try and boast on my talent, but I feel like I have a fair amount of it.
It sounds to me like you're laying out a plan that has a golden buzzer somewhere at the end of it. What is Cameron Bolin's ultimate goal? Are you going to be a weekly short track driver, or do you have higher aspirations?
And I've talked to people about this. I know I don't have the money to go cup racing. I know I don't have the money to go Xfinity racing. If I could take a back half truck, make a handful of starts in it, and consistently run in the top 20 or the top 15, I'd be satisfied with my career. I could say I made it to the top of the heat, but I'm going to hold on to that late model for as long as I can. And like you said, try and make the best of what I do have and become a good weekly racer.
Running at a short track, running every week.
Yeah.
You develop relationships. The pits are very intimate at any racetrack. I'm sure it's the same at Greenville Pickens. For a youngster like you, when you interact with folks that could very well be twice as old as you, what's it like?
It's intimidating. It is. But I do my best of what I can to fit in throughout everything. And everybody, you know, everybody at Greenville, they're so kind. They're so welcoming. When I showed up in 18, I didn't know what to expect. And I crashed that car. I had people from Greenville sending me race cars every day to say, hey, we got to get you back together. We got to get you back out here. So it's like you said, it's the relationships. It's a big family, kind of like our team is. We're a tight-knit family group that would go to war behind each other. And that's like Taylor Satterfield. He won the championship in 19. Taylor called me. I got protested championship night. Taylor called me. He said, hey, man, I got a motor sitting here. We want you to run that Cars Tour race. Use my motor. So loaded up in the truck, off to Greenville I ran, and here we go. We're going Cars Tour racing.
Now, the most important question. You're still in school. How many folks know what you do on Saturday nights?
Not too many, honestly. You know, I used to be outgoing. I'm not as much so anymore. So I kind of go to school, I do my own thing, and I got my 5 or 6 buddies that ask me how we ran the Saturday night before, and they'll say, oh, you just got to keep digging, you know, and teachers know I'm gone a lot, and I'll go to them, and I'll say, hey, I'm leaving for a week to go race a Legends car at Winter Nationals. Can I have a week's worth of work? And I'll have it to you by the time I get back. And they'll say, okay, good luck, you know, stuff like that. But like I said, not too many. I kind of keep to myself. I do my own thing more than anything. My life outside of school is more exciting, but I know I can't get these 12 years back, so I got to cherish them while I can.
What do you want to do besides racing? It's a long shot, as you say, to make it to the very top. So what's your backup plan?
Working in racing. I went to my first racetrack at 6 months old. There's a picture of me and Grandpa in Victory Lane at 6 months old, where he won one night. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. I've said from the beginning, if I can't race, I want to work in racing and have something to do. You know, that's what I want to do, race and just enjoy the ride, really.
I have no doubt whatsoever that you will attain that goal. And I also don't have any doubts that eventually you're going to find yourself in the starting grid for a NASCAR Camping World Truck Series event. Cameron, it's been a real treat.
Well, Jack, I appreciate it. It was real nice talking to you. And like I said before we started recording, you made me do a double take that day. I was watching you on ESPN cover Bump Day.
Well, I'm glad we could connect, my friend, and you be well.
Yes, sir. You do the same.
Be sure to join us again next week for another trip to racing's grassroots with the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, advancing the next generation of drivers and champions. I'm Kyle Rickey from the Motor Racing Network.
Embrace the speed of the NTT IndyCar Series.
Power wins at Indianapolis.
On SiriusXM, Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan and Jack Arute get you closer to the track every Wednesday at 7 Eastern on Brick by Brick on IndyCar Nation Channel 205, NBC Sports Radio Channel 211, and on the SiriusXM app. Free for most subscribers.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
With apologies to Rocky and Bullwinkle, it's time for Wind Tunnel Stories. Not fractured, and certainly not fairy tales. Instead, they're stories collected during my 50 years in racing. In 1981, Junior Johnson rocked the NASCAR world when he hired a brash, outspoken, but lightning-quick driver from Franklin, Tennessee. I became part of that team, managing the sponsorship from the Mountain Dew brand of Pepsi-Cola. It was fascinating to witness the interplay between Junior Johnson, a soft-spoken, slow-talking country boy, and his interaction with Darrell Waltrip, who had a reputation as an outspoken, brash driver that for the previous 6 years had piloted the Gatorade cars for DieGuard Racing. But that relationship was unraveling in part due to Darrell's feelings that after numerous victories for the team owned by Bill and Jim Gardner, that he deserved a better piece of the financial pie. Near the end of the 1980 season, Darrell publicly criticized DieGuard for their refusal to increase his cut. A number of teams did reach out to him, but then DieGuard dropped the bomb.
I intend to enforce the contract to the letter of the law, and I hope that Darrell will be driving for us in 1981 and 82.
When they reminded their driver that he had 2 years remaining on his contract. At the same time, just outside of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, in a place the locals called Ingle Holler, Junior Johnson's team learned that their driver, Cale Yarborough, who, by the way, had captured 3 consecutive Winston Cup championships behind the wheel of Johnson's Chevrolets, was leaving to drive for a newly formed rival team. That's when Junior Johnson targeted Waltrip as his driver for the 1981 season. Meanwhile, Johnson had also courted and landed Mountain Dew as his new sponsor. The negotiations with Darrell were through back-channel intermediaries, but by October of 1980, the deal was done. Waltrip would drive the Mountain Dew Buick in 1981. But before that, he had to resolve his contract issues with DieGuard, and that's where Johnson interceded. He concocted a plan that would help Darrell get out of his DieGuard contract and pay off the $300,000 that was owed to DieGuard. Junior Johnson would ante up $100,000. His new sponsor, Mountain Dew, would pay an additional $100,000, and Darrell would be responsible for the final $100,000. Now, Junior had been a personal friend starting back with my years at the Motor Racing Network, and our bond is one reason why I was there as part of the team in 1981. You see, he included my hiring as part of the Mountain Dew sponsorship agreement. But back to my story. During this period of time, Darrell Waltrip was not a fan favorite. Now, some of it was because he took on the old guard and using a take-no-prisoners driving style often beat some of the sport's most popular and established drivers. But his negative popularity also was in part because of his open criticism of NASCAR, his admitting to condoning cheating, just some of the sacrosanct topics that Darrell Waltrip boldly dived into, even if it meant that his popularity would wane. Whenever Darrell was introduced, hey, the boos always drowned out the cheers. In fact, Cale Yarborough, who he was about to replace at Junior Johnson's, gave him the nickname Jaws, and it stuck. And it wasn't necessarily a reference to the fish. So over the 1980-81 offseason, Darrell, along with Mountain Dew, were formally introduced to the public. Let's just say that the fan reaction was, well, lukewarm. And inside Junior Johnson and Associates, believe me, it was less than lukewarm. So as the 81 season approached, Darrell started coming around the shop to meet his crew and get some FaceTime with a group of guys who he knew were not happy campers about their new driver, but would be instrumental in his success or failure. During one of those visits, an unnamed crew member had posted a letter to the editor that was printed in Racing's Bible, Chris Economaki's National Speed Sport News. The letter went off on Johnson and accused him of high crimes and misdemeanors. How could the last American hero hire such a guy? The letter itself was pretty ugly, but there, marked in yellow highlighter, was the final sentence. It said, I have been a fan of Junior Johnson for more than 20 years, but since he has decided to hire that monkey Waltrip, I will no longer or ever pull for his cars. You know, it didn't take long for Darrell to see that posted on the shop billboard. After a rocky start that saw the tension increase, the crew unhappy with Darrell and Darrell criticizing the crew, Junior stepped in and held a come-to-Jesus meeting. He told all of them, Darrell included, that if they didn't start to get along, all of them would be out of job. And that's when the season turned around.
Darrell Waltrip receives the checkered flag and first place.
It's been the lucky weeks. Last week winning at Richmond and right here at Rockingham. Darrell Waltrip wins again, makes it 2 in a row.
Car number 11, driven by Darrell Waltrip, has dominated NASCAR Grand National Racing, winning almost every race it enters.
The team went to victory lane 12 times that season and delivered to Darrell Waltrip his very first Winston Cup championship. From that newspaper clipping to a title, the team closed ranks around their driver. He became their friend, and man, did they go all out all season. But the best part of the story is that they also always reminded Darrell about that fan's accusation that he was nothing more than a jaw-flapping monkey. You see, before every race, when Darrell would get ready to climb into that Mountain Dew number 11, there always sat in the seat a bunch of yellow bananas. Now, I'll never spill the beans or reveal who was the perpetrator of the crime. Hey, next week, I'll share with you how that championship changed the way that NASCAR put together their annual guest list for their Champions Banquet.
Only now you know the rest of the story.
And this could be a volatile final lap. Bobby Labonte has blown the rear end on the 47 car. The track was very slippery last time. Here comes Keselowski. He gets into Kyle. Kyle spins in turn 2. Keselowski around the outside. Ambrose around him. Kyle Busch crashes into the Armco barrier. The leaders tiptoeing through the slippery racetrack. They're on the back straightaway, and it's Keselowski the leader.
You NASCAR fans know that voice.
Kenseth hanging right there with him. He tried to duck in below. Keselowski would not give him room. Matt tries the outside, and he may make a go of it. Johnson sideways. He hit Kenseth. They both spin. They're into the outside wall. Both drivers try to gather it up. Kenseth gets T-boned by Denny Hamlin. Everybody scrambles. Jimmy Johnson keeps it pointed in the right direction, but Matt Kenseth and Denny Hamlin torn to pieces on the inside of turn number 1.
MRN and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio's host of Speedway, joins me next.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Well, I'm genuinely excited to welcome my next guest into the wind tunnel because he is a classic example and I think inspiration for anybody that, as a youngster, has a dream and then is able, through commitment and hard work, to fulfill it. He started in Vermont, of all places. You now hear him in the turns in Motor Racing Network's coverage of Cup racing, Xfinity racing, truck racing, and God knows what else. I'm talking about Dave Moody, who joins me now. Dave, I really do appreciate this, and I hope that you're doing well.
I'm doing fantastically, Jackie. Anything for you, my friend. When anybody that goes back as far as we go back, right? We're happy to spend time together.
But let's go back, shall we? You, like me, had an objective, and you had to work hard, and you started at the very bottom. Tell my listeners a little bit about that story.
Well, I mean, my uncle took me to my first stock car race at 5, maybe 6 years old at, yes, the nation's site of excitement, Thunder Road International Speed Bowl, high atop Corey Hill and Barry. Tickets still available. That's, the line right out of Ken Squire's mouth. He owned the track at the time. And from that first day, my uncle asked me who I thought was going to win, and I picked my car, and that car won the heat, the semi-feature, and the feature. And it ruined me to ever do anything else in the world. And from that day on, Jackie, I wanted to find a way to be at the racetrack and be around the racers. And, between public address announcing and writing for the local newspaper and then writing for the weekly trade papers and then going to work for MRN and then eventually on SiriusXM satellite radio, I've always found a way to stay within arm's reach of the sport.
Tell me a little bit, because I've been over the course of the last couple of episodes sharing stories of my career. And a couple of episodes ago, I explained how I ended up with ABC Sports. So my question to you, Dave, is how did you end up at MRN?
Ken Squire.
Yeah.
But, as so many people ask sometimes, why are so many NASCAR announcers from New England? And a lot of us trace that path directly back to Ken Squire. I was, when he got busy with CBS, he kind of grabbed me by the shoulder and said, listen, I need somebody to fill in on the track PA system, and you're going to be it. And taught me half of what he knows and all of what I know. And at some point, and I don't know why, because it was not in his best interest to recommend me for any better jobs. He could have kept me right there at home working for him. But at some point, he told our dear friend John McMullen, who was running MRN at the time. So, and he basically told McMullen, if you're looking for any new blood, I got a kid up here that isn't, terrible if you want to give him a listen. And they brought me down to Daytona and they auditioned me. And it's either been uphill or downhill since, depending on your point of view.
Everybody recognizes your voice, and you, along with Bagman and the anchor booth, have been doing this for quite some time. So I'm assuming that you've got a lot of vivid memories of your career, and we'll get to Speedway in a second, but your MRN career, anything you want to share that maybe heretofore people didn't know?
Well, there've been some amazing days. There's no doubt about that. The first time I ever worked the Daytona 500 in a turn, one time they sent me down to the garage to interview the people that had blown up, and I don't think anybody blew up the whole day. So I don't think I even made it to air. But the first time they put me in a turn, I was calling turn 3 and 4 for the first Daytona 500. Was the day Darrell Waltrip won the race. And if you'll recall, they went approximately 400 miles on a tank of gas at the end of that thing. I mean, they were drafting seagulls down the back straightaway trying to make it. And you know, for a kid out of Vermont, scared to death still, I hadn't done more than 5 or 6 MRN broadcasts in total, to be doing the Daytona 500 and calling Darrell Waltrip home to the checkered flag. That was pretty cool. And I got to tell you, the day that my friend Ricky Craven went to Cup Series victory lane for the first time was pretty neat too, because I remember him as about a 15-year-old kid at the Unity Raceway in Maine with buck teeth and red hair flying everywhere and a fire suit that was so old the seat of the pants had been missing for about 10 years, saying to Tom Curley, who ran the American Canadian Tour at that time, "Mr. Curley, my name is Ricky Craven, and I hope to be good enough someday to race on your tour." Well, he sure did that, and he went a lot further than that. So calling him home in a Cup race for the first time was pretty neat too.
All right, people hear you now 5 days a week. You have been right from the beginning of SiriusXM Radio's coverage of NASCAR. I like to say the foundation and the anchor with your show, SiriusXM Speedway. It to me is fascinating because you, I think, like me, enjoy mixing a little humor, but you also love your listeners and you provide them with some insight. But sometimes I feel like you're herding cats on that show.
I want to talk about the Cup cars or the Cup drivers in the Xfinity.
Fantastic. We never talk about it. You know, so you think it was his intent to wreck Ryan Newman, huh?
Sure, I sure do.
You don't think he was just trying to move him over and say, "Hey, man, stop knocking on me or I'm going to knock you back"? You don't think it was just as simple as that, huh?
Okay, so what about Brian Scott? I mean, that was clear day that he took it out.
Was. I'm asking you about Ryan Newman.
And yeah, I really do think his intent was to take him out.
All right, fair enough.
Like he does most people, so that's just my opinion.
That might have been a little broad, don't you think? Like he does most people?
Well, most of the time he's taking somebody out.
Most of the time he's taking somebody out. So in more than half of the races, Tony Stewart intentionally takes somebody out? You're not really saying that, are you?
Yes, and happily so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the basic tenet of sports talk radio, people with opinions. Sometimes you're going to agree with those opinions. Sometimes you're not going to agree with those opinions. The only real rules I have is don't insult people, don't use profanity, and while you're entitled to your opinion, there's only one set of facts. So if you come to the dance, have your facts together, because if you try and push something out there that isn't true, the host is going to say, "Hold on a minute, that's not necessarily the case." But other than that, man, I love listening to people's opinions. I never learned anything by talking. I learned by listening. And we probably talk to as many NASCAR fans in a week as anybody else on the planet, and I wear that as a badge of honor.
How educated do you think, thanks to SiriusXM NASCAR, race fans have become?
I like to think that we've raised the bar, and we certainly haven't done it alone, Jackie. I mean, you know, social media in general, as big a pain in the rump as it can be sometimes, because it does make everybody feel like an expert, whether they are or not. Social media has allowed people and given them access to information and insight and driver interviews and stats and figures that they were never privy to before. You know, when I was a kid, the biggest education I got was on Friday when my Speedway Scene newspaper landed in the mailbox, and I could find out who won at Stafford and Thompson and Rockford and all over the country. And I had to wait a week to find out who won last week. Now you don't have to wait 15 minutes. It's all right there. And I think it's been very good overall to educate our fan base.
Look, in every sport, there are journalists, writers, broadcasters that create an uncommon bond between themselves and the athlete. You certainly, along with your counterparts, have been very, very successful at that with a NASCAR community that really has got a lot on their mind when you're down there visiting. You talk about the ability to listen, but there is a certain level of empathy that gives them the safety to be able to let you or your counterparts into the inner circle. How does that happen?
I think part of it is just longevity. You know, when you've been there for going on to 30 years, well, more than 30 years, as I have been kicking around the garage, at a certain point, they recognize you and say, okay, he's been here as long as I have. He must be doing something right. And the other part of it, Jackie, is something that I learned from the late, great Barney Hall a long time ago. And that is that you don't necessarily have to talk about everything you know. Barney was one of the great power brokers in the history of the sport. Yeah. He knew who was losing their ride at the end of the season. He knew who was looking for a driver at the end of the season. He knew who had a sponsor and who didn't. And a lot of times, very quietly behind the scenes, he would match people up. He knew a lot of stories, and most of them never made it out of his mouth because he understood. And that confidence was something that took you years to build and could take you seconds to lose. And one of the things he told me that I've never forgotten, he said, before you open your mouth, ask yourself two questions. Does this need to be said? And does this need to be said by me? And if the answer to either one of those questions is no, keep your mouth shut. And that has saved my bacon more times than I can count over the years.
Yeah, I got a lot of great advice from Barney as well. Look, there's been some news in the NASCAR world over the course of the last couple of weeks, and it involves Roush Racing and Brad Keselowski. You've been on top of it. Now, we should establish that, well, shall we put it, it hasn't been confirmed, but back channels have confirmed it. So let's go on the premise that it is going to happen. Are we seeing the beginning in your mind with the introduction of the Gen 7 next year, more and more of those type of relationships?
I think it's impossible to ignore. It's either a direct correlation or the biggest coincidence in the history of the sport that Denny Hamlin has decided to become a team owner and bring in somebody like Michael Jordan, that Justin Marks, after years of saying, boy, I'd love to, but I just can't make the business model work, is here with Pitbull as a sponsor. You know, Matt Tifft and BJ McLeod have taken the dive to go Cup racing. Dale Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt Miller, after years of saying absolutely not, are giving some serious thought to Cup. We're now seeing Brad Keselowski want to get into ownership. The fact, Jackie, that the business model 5 years from now may actually make some financial sense for anybody other than the criminally insane that just love racing so much that they don't care how much money they lose. Yeah, I think that's got to be a huge factor in all of these decisions happening at roughly the same time.
Look, you've played in the past the owner role in some late models. So before I let you go, you know, with the incredible amount of money that you make, maybe, just maybe, we could see Dave Moody field a Cup car.
I'm a Powerball ticket away, Jackie, and that's the only because, as you well know, you've worked for MRN and you've worked for SiriusXM, so you know that I'm in beans and weenies territory, which is not exactly Cup Series owner territory. I'll just sit back here on the sidelines, broadcast the race, and get excited for who wins, and get sad for who loses and crashes and tears up race cars. That's all I need anymore. That's enough.
And I know what you'll continue to do is take your passion and transmit it to race fans, because at that early age of 5 years old, you were administered the drug that has no cure. That is the world of auto racing. Dave, it's always a pleasure. Continued good fortune, and we'll catch up down the road, okay?
Anytime, my friend. Keep up the good work. Always a pleasure to see you.
We'll wrap this puppy up right after this timeout.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Well, that puts a lid on this week's show. My thanks to my guests, Cameron Bolin, Dave Moody, and Ryan Hunter-Reay. I hope you'll return next week when we will crank it up again right here on the Wind Tunnel.
Today's trip to the Wind Tunnel was brought to you by
Vance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.